Real quickly before the video starts, just wanted to mention I started a Discord. Just wanted to have a way to be able to communicate and chat with you guys if you wanted to, go over some projects. So link will be in the description down below if you'd like to join. Heyo everyone, I'm Jay from Boulder Creek Railroad, and in this video I'm going to be showing you my newest 3D printed product now available on my Colts 3D page. This model is of the Yosemite Valley log car. I created these cars because I was influenced by Jack Burgess's Yosemite Valley Model Railroad, the Yosemite Sugar Pine Railroad, and my lack of log cars for my lumber mill. This is part 1 of a new Yosemite Valley Railroad project I will be doing. I will have links to these cars in the description below, and as always, happy railroading! The kit is made up of 3 main parts: the body, which has all the detail, the chassis, which is where the pins and the trucks connect to the car, and the back head, the part that keeps the logs from flying out the back of the car. There are a number of tools you are going to need: an X-Acto blade for cutting pieces and getting off small pieces of scrap, some General Hobbies liquid cement or any sort of other adhesive, some needle nose pliers, and some wire cutters. These will be used for cutting off all the support structure on the model, as well as getting rid of any unwanted parts. You may also, it's optional, but you may also need some sandpaper or a file to help keep the pieces nice and smooth. This body printed with a few errors, but it's nothing I can't fix with my trusty hobby knife. Make sure to remove any sort of supports from the bottom and any print errors you may come across on your models. As you can see, the model now looks much better with all the errors and supports removed. However, it's probably best to take some sandpaper or a file to kind of smooth out some of the joints and especially the under part where the chassis will connect to the body. Try to get the bottom of the car as flat as possible with your sandpaper or file. That way, the glue will adhere better to both the body and the chassis of the car. Now, the chassis of the car may have a little bit of some bleed on the side of the car. This is just normal from the heated print bed that I have. You could use a raft on these pieces, I just didn't on this one. So you could use a knife or a file to get rid of the little bleed on the side of the car. After you sand all those pieces, you should test fit them together to make sure that they work. Once they fit together smoothly and there's barely any noticeable gap in between the cars, you should be good to go. There may be a little bit of a tiny gap where just some of the support structure and the chassis meet together. Just fill it in. You could fill it in. I didn't on mine. It looks perfectly fine, but if you'd like, fill it in. Here's the bulkhead. It may also have a few little bits of stringing and a couple of small print errors on it. Just go quickly, remove them with a knife. It's nothing too difficult. Once it's looking all good, I would suggest test fitting your pieces again without glue, just kind of see where everything goes together. If you need to do any more sanding or any more prep work to the car, do that now before moving on. Your car should end up looking something like this in the end. Make sure the back head supports touch all the way to the back end of the body of the car. Now here's the most complicated part of this project. I've had a couple of issues with trying to 3D print holes for pins for cars before, so I generally print them a little bit smaller and then use my hobby knife to grind them out and make them a little bit bigger. The reason for this is because whenever I do the exact dimension of the car, it's either a little bit too big or a little bit too small and the pin won't be able to fit in the hole. So I've gotten really good at just getting a hobby knife, twisting it around the hole a little bit, and then test fitting the pin every couple of turns or so. It actually really isn't that difficult. I'd also suggest maybe just adding a little bit of glue to the pin if you're into that, but generally you're not going to really need to do that. This is just a safety precaution, that way the pins work fine every single time I print them, just really quickly grinding them out. I believe the pin width on these cars is about 1 millimeter, so if you have a 1mm drill bit, that should work as well. The last step to do is to dust the cars off and glue them together. The same way you assemble it, just put the chassis underneath the body and the bulkhead at the back end. These cars have a couple of different paints that are used for the paint scheme. Barn red is used for the sides of the car, mixed in with a little bit of some parchment white to lighten up the color just slightly. The burnt umber is used for the couplers, as it looks like a very grimy, kind of rusty metal. Pavement looks great as just a sort of raw metal color. And then here with some trail tan will become the wood deck for the car. All these colors come together. I'll show you exactly how to paint these cars in a moment. I'm just going to point out exactly where all the colors go on the cars. Alright, so here's one of my completed cars with a load on it. As you can see, the car has a pretty simple paint scheme. You can see the tan here goes on the deck of the car, the red here goes on the sides, and that pavement color goes on the undersides to match that sort of metal color. A little bit of red here on the back of the bulkhead with a little bit of tan as well. I'm going to switch over to a different car here so you can see it's a little better, but you can see that the pavement color is also used on some of those metal components, like the little pieces that hold up the log, little like spikes that hold it up. Make sure you get those nice and black, especially using a micro brush for that. So I'm also going to show you here how I made those logs. Pretty simple. Take a dowel. I did pretty much a scale dowel, whatever it looks nice for you. About 2 inches in length, as long as it's around 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Take a saw blade. Just scrape it back and forth while you rotate the log very slowly. What that does is it kind of gives that sort of wood grain texture to the car. Just keep going all the way around. Make sure you get all the edges of the car, and make sure you just dust it off afterwards with your fingers, getting rid of all the little pieces that get left over on the log. And you don't have to do anything to the ends of the log where you cut them. It already kind of looks like it has rings in it. So in the end, the car should look something similar to this. I'm going to get the edges real fast. I think I missed those here. And once I get those edges done, I should be able to show you the final look at the thing here. And there you go. So here it is. Here's the final look of the car, of the log. As you can see, it looks pretty good. It looks like it has some good grain detail for bark. Final step is to just take some burnt umber and just dry brush it on the log real fast. Gives it that nice little like bark texture and on the underside of it. You don't need to get the ends. I get the ends a little bit just to help bring out that little ring detail a little bit better. But it's a really quick job. Just take a little bit of a brush, wipe it off, and then just take your log and just real quickly, just boop, just like that. Go all the way around the log. I'm just going to go all the way around the log in this paint here. And when you're done, you should have a great looking log. And here is the final product for the logs. So you can do these in stacks of 3, larger dowels for just a single large tree log. You could do multiples. You can do like 6 or maybe just 2. It's all up to you for your loads. You could also take a knife and kind of chip it out there too. And there you go. That is the final part of this project. And here you go. Here's a bunch of my log cars all together. I got 5 of them here, put up next to my Shay number 107. These are a great addition to if you have a logging mill or any sort of railroad that uses log cars. I hope you enjoyed this video, and happy railroading.